Hey, Letter Engineers Alpha has been updated. What changes should you expect to see this week? Hopefully, almost none. I spent the vast majority of this week's project time getting physics to be deterministic. What does that mean? It means that if you create the exact same structures, the level will complete the exact same way. So, when you replay a solution, for example, the replay is now guaranteed to play out the exact same way as the original did. Now, if you're making a game like mine with physics puzzles and user-placed objects, I actually don't recommend determinism. It's hard to set up, it's finicky, and most of the time, you don't actually need it. If all you need to do is replay level solutions, there are much easier ways that are also a bit less CPU intensive. All you really need to do is take snapshots of object positions and velocities every few frames, then let the physics system run between them, syncing each object to its snapshot whenever the snapshot time passes. Plus, non-deterministic physics doesn't really vary all that much. You might have things taking a little bit more or less time from run to run, but generally it won't be noticeable. I didn't actually notice the non-determinism in my game for multiple months of development. So why did I implement replays the hard way? Well, 3 reasons. The first is because of engine letters. Engine letters produce a constant force on the structure they're a part of in every direction that's not covered by another letter. The thing is, if they're not centered, they'll also apply a torque to the structure. So if you have an engine pushing up on the side of a structure, it will cause the structure to rotate clockwise. But once it starts rotating, even a tiny bit, the force that it applies that was previously straight up is now slightly to the right, which causes even more clockwise rotation, which causes even more rightward force. Any slight deviation from ideal conditions magnifies into a huge change, and in a non-deterministic physics system, slight deviations in straight-facing engines can magnify into huge changes in object behavior. Making the physics deterministic doesn't prevent this unstable equilibrium, but it prevents the primary drawback, the inconsistencies you would see in running the exact same solution. The second is that I don't want people to notice that the physics can potentially vary, because if they do, they may spend time replaying an almost working solution repeatedly in the hopes that it becomes a fully working one. This, quite simply, just isn't fun, and I don't want people to waste their time doing it. The final and most important reason, however, has to do with my future plans for the game. I really like when games compare your skills to those of your friends and the world average. It's really motivating to try to climb the ranks and, for example, get into the top 10% of cheapest solutions to a particular level. With all the different potential metrics to optimize, Letter Engineer is a great fit for this type of functionality. But to do that, I need a web endpoint that can take someone's solution and evaluate these metrics. I can't trust the player that their solution is as fast or as cheap as they say, because clients can be modded, or they don't even have to play the game and can just send a fake solution straight to the server. And if I trust any web request that goes through, all it takes is one guy who wants to ruin the leaderboard, and suddenly the top 99% of solutions to every level will have been done in 0 seconds for $0. But if the server can run any solution and determine whether it works, it doesn't matter if the client is modded or even if the one sending the solution sent it from the game or not. If the solution is valid, it's valid, so it can be put into the statistics. So why did I say free will is an illusion? Well, it's a dumb philosophy joke. Determinism is the idea that human actions, much like the physics in my game, are deterministic. So if you're put in the exact same situation with the exact same memories, you'll make the exact same decision every time. People use this as an argument to say that free will must not exist, because whenever you make a decision, it was the only decision you ever would have made in that situation. And putting aside the difficult question of just how deterministic our universe is, I just don't think determinism disproves free will. Like, when we say free will in casual conversation, we're not usually talking about what would happen if you and your memories were suddenly transported back in time. We're usually just asking whether there's coercion or external influence. In my book, if it comes from the brain, it's free. Anyway, I made one other change to the game this week. I did a bunch of user testing with my friends and have more on the way, and one of the first things I noticed was that the shader to highlight letters doesn't work on most machines. I think it was specifically broken on any NVIDIA GPU. But that's fixed now. See you next week for a new round of improvements.